Hello, teachers. Welcome back to Teachers Help Teachers. I'm your host, Esther Yoon, and with me today are two fantastic, generous people who are here to talk to us about communicating with parents. Today we have Jill Sethi at the bottom screen over here. Jill is currently a third grade teacher. And over here to my left is Michelle Brody. She's taught for 25 years as well. The last 5 years, currently she's she's a middle school principal. Thank you both for coming on and being so willing to talk to us about this very important topic, communicating with parents. So welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Jill, let's start with you. How do you communicate with your parents? What are some apps and platforms you use to do that?
Well, before the remote learning situation, I was just using email. So I'm emailing with them, and I have a class roster. At my school, we have room mothers or room parents. So they put the roster together, and we make sure that we're all communicating via the email. And
I don't know about you, Jill, but for me, I don't get an overwhelming, I'm not overwhelmed with lots of messages from parents. I think it's a moderate amount. I can only say that because I'm able to do, answer email, but take classes and plan and whatnot. But do you find yourself answering a lot more emails than me? And how do you manage that? How do you balance answering emails timely, promptly, but also doing everything else that entails teaching? And of course, you're a wife and mother, and you have all that.
well, now with our office hours, they know that those are my office hours, and I try my best to keep to that. There are some times where I get a lot of emails. My parents email a lot. And so I try to keep within my office hours. If it's a little thing here and there. The thing that I like about Schoology is that I have an email with the students. So a lot of the stuff, they don't understand that I can just talk to them and get that done, taken care of, things that they want to try to help their child with, but I can just answer it right to the student, and I get a lot of that taken care of. One of the things that's helped a lot with stopping a lot of the emails is with the remote learning. It's been, not just what the project is or what the assignment is, but it's also it's loading and it's not doing anything, or I click this button and now what? And it's, I don't even know what's going on. It could, it's a Wi-Fi thing, or so. I read something when we first started remote teaching from a teacher in China, and she, of course they were ahead of us, and she said, if I knew all the things that I know now, here's a list of the things for you teachers just starting, what I recommend you do. And one of them that set in with me was, just like in the class, you have parents that want to volunteer and help, delegate some things to them. And so one of them was a parent that was seeming to get when we first started, they understood the websites, they understood the platforms I was talking about, they understood, down to like a password and things that other parents were not understanding. She felt really comfortable with it. So I asked, would you mind being that person for me? So if I have a parent that comes to me and they don't understand how to get onto this website, can you help them? And so she was willing to do that. So that was really helpful.
It could be a TA. It could be a parent that you trust who has contact with other parents who are helpful to you, and you can lean on them in that way. So what a great idea, and what a great management tool.
Yeah.
So Jill and I, Michelle, we talked at length as teachers of different categories of parents. So we have the happy middle, right? Where They get the info. They're talking to their children. They're communicating with their children. If there's like Jill said, if there's something that they're unsure about, then they'll give us a quick email, and we can help them in that way. Keeping office hours if you do, or yeah, whatever your system is. But then there's the other, right, where you have an overwhelming amount of emails from maybe one or two few parents, right?
Yep.
And then you have
100%.
the other where you've reached out as a teacher, you've reached out to them many times, probably used your own cell phone to call them even, and there's no answer, where everything just goes straight to voicemail. So
Yeah.
Michelle, as an administrator, can you advise us or tell us what to do in either polar situations?
I can give suggestions. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm keenly aware that my role here is to support teachers and to kind of, if anything, help be a filter. So the other thing that's important to understand is there's such a chasm between before a quarantine and a pandemic and after a quarantine and a pandemic, or during, excuse me. So we have similar tools, but the need for them and the urgency has increased. And the capacity for people, like, you know, I murmured like 10% when you were talking about the different kinds of parents. I think that might be closer to, you know, 20% now. There's more people in need, there's more people anxious and more people struggling. And then they're not just parents, it's across the board. So to that end, and to get to your question, I think one of the most significant things administrators can do to help teachers is to really communicate with the teachers, with the parents, as specifically, clearly, consistently as possible, and in a gentle, open-ended manner. As much as you can, like all of those words, direct and then gentle, like there's a contrast in there, but it's the needle that has to be threaded at this time. For teachers, I mean, you know, yes, accessing more people, right? And if, whether it's through a parent association or PTA or, you know, or school moms, whatever that is, you're going to find different people have different capacities in this kind of a time. And then you've got to find, you know, different ways to, like, that over anxious person who's emailing a lot. Maybe that's a phone call, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to call you every Monday at 3. Hold on to those questions. Make a list, and I will call you, and just really give them that space and see if they can hold on to their anxiety or whatever that pace is until office hours, right? Like Jill had said. It might not be once a week. It might need to be every other day, given this circumstance. I don't know. And then once you get a sense of that, then you need to, you know, figure out what other resources that person needs, because that might not necessarily be about what's occurring in your classroom for that child, student. And so for those kiddos who've dropped off and the parent communication is not there, there's some inventive thoughts that need to go in there. You know, get yourself the team, right? The administration team, the school, the counselors. See who really knows that child prior to this pandemic, and then see how you can, is there a way in? Is there a way to know that that family's really okay and that there's a need that needs to be met, and move there? You have to be super, another word that I've heard so much of is nimble, right? Super creative and malleable with how we can just reach out to people. Ultimately, we're creating a community online, and how we communicate and how we reach out has to be just as dynamic as the community. So.
Got it. So practically speaking, Michelle, if Jill and I, as teachers, emailed frequently, being direct and gentle, I use an app called Remind, which is like a text um, platform. Also, it does send email if it's set that way. So, so reaching out that way, maybe even a phone call asking my principal to call after I've attempted, um, and then we're also encouraged to document
Yes,
how many times we did that, and I guess after that we have to then say, um, okay, I've
that's for
tried,
someone else.
I'm gonna keep trying,
Yep.
but um,
Yeah.
yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. The other piece is there's ways to, I mean, there's so many emails going on around right now. It's Herculean to even understand that you answered emails from a week ago, in my experience. Um, one of the things that I think could be helpful to diminish those, but keep the communication up, is if there's a class page, if there's a hub, if there's a space where the kids and you go regularly, and then you can show the parents to go there as well. And then you can also say to them, I'm going to email everybody on Monday. And so the parents know, and then also email your the admin team gets that same email that you're sending out. Send that to all of your students, not just one single class. Make it easy for yourself. Make it short, so that it doesn't tax you, but give maybe 3 pieces of information. Don't overwhelm, but give them a little nugget and then a little teaser. Maybe there's a family challenge in there. Maybe there's a 2-minute interview with you talking about how proud you are of a particular class. Get something. Parents want to know that their kids are connecting, and engaging with intellectual pursuits. And kids want to be seen and they want to see each other. So you can do that in a couple of paragraphs, and just, if you hook them, right? Like they know that every Monday at 6 o'clock, Mrs. Yun's going to reach out, and that's fun, right? That's another way that'll diminish those emails. And then when you get those little sprinkles, shove those sprinkle of emails into those office hours so that you can have your own boundaries. And all of this, is best advice. Take what you can. It's the pandemic.
Thank you,
Right?
Michelle. It makes a
Good
lot of
idea.
sense to me, and it's cleared up a lot for me, and I can safely assume that it is for our listeners or viewers out
Oh,
there.
yes,
Um, Jill,
understood.
do you have anything more to add, or um, to what Michelle has shared with us before we move on?
No, I think that's a great idea, and it made me get thoughts of what's going on with when I'm using the platform Schoology, and there is a section in their updates where I press a microphone and I can actually, just like this, talk to them. And so I do that a lot, and then they can like it. It's almost like, so I can see, and it's kind of fun that way. And I do feel like I'm still with them, and I think that they still see me. It's not just my 2 hours a week of my Zoom classes, but it's a lot that we see each other and communicate that way in this internet world. So I think that would be great to say, okay, every Monday I'm going to talk to you about this, and just have it more more of a schedule of it. So that's a great idea.
Yes, and for me, there is this one family that I've been trying to reach forever, but after starting at office hours recently, they dropped in. Yeah, it was such, that family dropped in to say hello, to check in with me. And so you're right, Michelle. It is important for us to be nimble, creative, keep reaching out. But yes, within, like Jill said, if you have office hours, respect that, keep that. I think it's a great tip for the more parents who are a little anxious, who need to call you or email you rather for everything. So yes, could you save those questions for this time, and then we can talk about it. So these are such great ideas from Jill and from Michelle, and I hope you teachers, you find them useful as well. So thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Jill, for coming on. Teachers help teachers, and we'll see you again next time on another episode. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.